All right, Browns fans, buckle in. I've got something I need to talk about today that might sound absolutely wild on the surface. But the more I sit with it, the more I realize how real it might be and how game-changing it could end up being for this team. I'm talking about the Cleveland Browns potentially doing something almost no NFL team does. Something that flies in the face of traditional roster building. I'm talking about keeping for quarterbacks. Yeah, for now, I know what you're thinking. For quarterbacks? Seriously, who does that? The answer is, basically nobody. Most teams ride with two quarterbacks, the starter and a backup. Some go three deep if they've got a rookie they're trying to develop or a guy with upside. They don't want to risk losing, but four, that's almost like a college depth chart. That's not just unusual. It's almost unheard of, but there's real buzz that the Browns might be headed in that direction. And I gotta be honest with you, it's got me fired up, confused, optimistic, skeptical. All at the same time. Now here's the kicker. This isn't just idle speculation. This isn't some blogger throwing stuff at the wall to see what sticks. This talk is coming out of Bria before training camp even starts, before the pads go on, before any of these quarterbacks have even stepped onto the field in a live preseason game. Which tells me they're already seeing something they really like, because coaches, especially at the NFL level, do not say things like this unless they've seen something substantial. Something that makes them sit up and say, hold on, we might have something here. And let me tell you what that something is. It's Shedeur Sanders, the rookie, the fifth rounder. The guy that a lot of people wrote off as just another late round project, but the way the Browns are talking about him, you'd think he was a top 15 pick. You'd think he already climbed the ladder and made a case to be in the Week 1 conversation. And here's why I think this matters so much, because if you're a rookie quarterback, and you're getting this kind of praise before you've taken a single preseason snap, that means you're checking every box, every single one. So, please, take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Think about it. The install periods during OTA letters are where rookies are supposed to be swimming, confused, behind schedule, playing catch up to the vets, but instead, what we're hearing is that Shedeur came and learned the system fast, made the right reads, showed off the arm talent, and maybe most importantly, didn't look overwhelmed. That's rare, especially in Cleveland, where quarterback expectations have been so heavy so often. So now let's lay this quarterback room out in full and look at why keeping all four is even being discussed. We've got Joe Flacco, the seasoned vet, Super Bowl MVP. Guy's played more playoff football than the rest of the room combined. He's 39. Pushing 40, but last year he showed he's still got a little juice. He came in cold late in the season and won games for us, so yeah, he's older. But he earned the respect. That man's presence in the locker room alone is valuable. Then you've got Kenny Pickett, first-round pick out of Pitt. The Steelers tried to make him their guy, and honestly, it just didn't quite work out. But the Browns saw something. They traded for him, and now he's here, trying to rewrite his story in orange and brown, and I'll be real, I've seen flashes. Not perfect, but there's something there. Add to that the third-round rookie. A guy who was drafted higher than Shedeur and who, let's be honest, would almost certainly have a roster spot locked in any other year. Third-round quarterbacks don't get cut unless they're a disaster, and from everything I've heard, he's looked solid. Not as flashy as Shedeur maybe, but solid. And then there's number 12, Shedeur, the wild card. The rookie with the famous last name, but he's not coasting on it. He's ballin', and what I keep hearing is that, in the film room, in the huddle, in the drills, he's looked like the most natural guy out there, poised, commanding, confident. All the stuff you want to see in a young quarterback who wasn't even supposed to be in this mix yet. And so now, the Browns have a dilemma. A good one, but a dilemma nonetheless. Do you let one of these guys go? Risk putting someone like Shedeur, or even the third rounder, on waivers, and having them get snatched up? Or do you break tradition, bend the rules a little, and carry all four quarterbacks into the season? Here's where things get tricky. I know this game. I've been in those locker rooms. I know what happens to rosters when you carry too many guys at a single position. It throws the whole thing off balance. It might sound harmless, but it's not. So when I hear talk about for quarterbacks, I immediately think, all right, which position group is going to get shortchanged? Because somebody will. There are only 53 roster spots, and only 47 of those guys dress on game day. Once you take out your starters, your kicker, punter, and long snapper, you've got, what, 25 slots left. And if you burn 3 of those on backup quarterbacks, that's 3 dudes who are basically inactive unless disaster strikes. And they don't play special teams, they don't cover kicks, they don't tackle, that's not what they do. So unless the Browns have a completely new plan for how to use this roster, I just don't see how they can justify it long term. I think this is posturing. I think they're trying to send a message that, hey, everyone's job is up for grabs. Which is great, I'm all about competition, but once we get to the final cuts, I can't see them actually going through with keeping all for now. That said, and this is the part I'm starting to believe more and more, if Shedeur keeps doing what he's doing, if he continues to impress once the pads go on, once the real bullets start flying in the preseason, he's not just going to make the team, he might start, and I know that sounds crazy. 5th rounder, no NFL snaps, going up against the Super Bowl MVP and to other guys with more pedigree, but sometimes talent just wins out. And if the coaches keep talking about him the way they are now, I wouldn't be surprised if, come week 1, they step up to the podium and say, it was a tough decision, but we're rolling with Shedeur Sanders, and if they do, you heard it here first, because I think something really special might be brewing in Cleveland. It's early, we've got a long summer ahead, but I'm telling y'all right now, keep your eye on number 12, because he might just be the future. And that future might arrive faster than any of us expected. Stay locked in, Browns fans. I'll be watching every throw, every camp report, every snap of preseason. And you better believe we'll break it all down right here on the channel. Let me know in the comments, would you keep all for quarterbacks, or do you think this is all smoke and mirrors, because something's coming, and it's gonna shake up that quarterback room real soon? Let me just say this straight up, if Shedeur Sanders is going to be the starting quarterback, then just start the man, don't tease it, don't string it out through the summer. Don't make it some reality show where we're guessing week to week. If that's your guy, let him take the reins. If it's Flacco, cool, roll with Flacco. But make a decision. Because what I can't understand is why we've got 3 quarterbacks and maybe even 4 just hanging out on the bench, eating sunflower seeds and watching the game like they paid for a ticket. That ain't how you build a football team. That's how you waste reps, waste roster spots, and worse, waste time. And I'm not trying to be harsh. I'm just being real. I don't need 4 quarterbacks in the room just for vibes. I don't need another Shady type in the quarterback room. I already got Shady doing what he does. He's running downhill, making noise. You know what I mean? What I need in that room is another James Jones, another Emmanuel Acko. Somebody who can look at talent and say, that dude can play, that one can't. Somebody who can evaluate, adapt, and move fast, because here's the thing, it should not take this long to figure out who can ball. Coaches, scouts, miss y'all been in camp. Y'all been in the room, you've seen these guys throw. If you're still confused about who's got the juice, that's a problem. So please take 2 seconds to hit the subscribe button, like the video, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Thank you for your support. Let's keep it 100 if you carry. For QBs on the active roster, at least one of them ain't dressing on game day, and maybe 2. So now, what you've really got is the wasted spots on the 53-man roster. Guys that could have been helping you on special teams. Guys that could have been running downfield or helping in nickel packages. Gone. That's bad roster management, plain and simple. But you know what the deeper issue is? Cleveland doesn't know who the best quarterback is right now. That's the truth they're not saying out loud. We know what Flacco brings to the table. He's a vet. He's seen it all. But you're getting, what, 3 or 4 wins max from him? And yeah, Kenny Pickett, he had a couple decent games when Hurts was down. But in Cleveland, that's a whole different beast. We don't know what version of Pickett we're gonna get. Now Shedeur, he's the wild card. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in a this guy might be special kind of way. But the organization is scared. They're scared of looking dumb. They drafted him in the 5th round. So if they throw him out there as the starter in week 1, they know the media is going to come for their necks like, why'd you wait until the 5th round if he's your guy? And nobody wants to answer that. But here's where I get annoyed. Because if you've been in those meeting rooms, if you've been on that field during OTA letters and mini camps, you already know who can play and who can't. You already know who walks into the huddle with command, who throws the best ball, who has the poise. And all the noise coming out of Browns camp is saying one thing: Shedeur is legit. They're saying the dude's got ball placement like a vet. He throws a catchable ball. He's reading defenses faster than expected. And yeah, he's still learning the playbook because he's a rookie. But when it comes to raw talent and upside, he's the most gifted guy in that room. And let me bring up the money real quick, cause some people keep throwing that around like it's a factor. You're talking about $7 to $8 million to keep for quarterbacks. That's pennies in the NFL. For a quarterback room, that's nothing. Nobody in that room is making starter level money, not one of them. So financially, there's zero pressure to make a move. You can afford to keep all four, but again, that's not the problem. The problem is fear. They're playing it safe because they don't want the optics. They don't want to make the GM look bad. They don't want to throw the scouting department under the bus, so instead of just naming the most talented guy the starter, they're dragging it out, hoping someone else makes the decision for them. But at some point, the games have to stop. You've got to let your best players play. I remember when I got drafted 3rd round and Robert Ferguson was in front of me all training camp. I was making plays. But it wasn't until I got into a real preseason game and lit it up that the coaches were like, okay, he's the guy. That's what it's going to take with Shedeur. He's been balling in OTA letters. He's probably going to keep balling in training camp. And when he steps into that first preseason game, watch. That's when it all becomes real. That's when he takes the job. You look at Andy Reid, he don't play these games. When Westbrook was the guy, he was the guy. And when he wasn't, Shady McCoy stepped right in. No drama, no waiting. Mahomes, same deal. Alex Smith was the starter until Mahomes was ready. Once that switch flipped, that was it. They didn't make a public scene out of it. They just made the move and let Mahomes do his thing. And that's why Andy Reid is one of the best to ever do it. He trusts his eyes. He trusts his process. But some of these other coaches, man, they get in their heads. They get caught up in politics and contracts and pressure from upstairs. So here's what I'm saying to the Browns right now: make a decision. If Shedeur's the guy, then let him be the guy. Rip the Band-Aid off and don't look back. Let number 12 take that first snap in week 1. And if he struggles, fine. That's part of growing. That's how you find out what you really got. But this in between, this waiting game, this QB carousel, this is how you end up 7-10 and wondering what could have been. So that's where I stand. But hey, drop your thoughts in the comments. Is it Shedeur's job to lose, or do you think Flacco or Pickett should get the nod? I'm curious what you'll think, because right now, I think the answer's clear. The Browns just need to stop stalling and let the kid play. If you're rocking with this channel, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the notifications so you don't miss a single update. I'll be breaking all of this down as camp heats up, so stay tuned. We're just getting started. Peace.